Welcome to Designed for the Creative Mind, a podcast for interior designers and creative entrepreneurs to run their business with purpose, efficiency, and passion. Because while every design is different, the process should remain the same. Prepare yourself for some good conversations with amazing guests, a dash of Jesus, and a touch of the woo-woo, and probably a swear word or two. If you're ready to stop trading your time for money and enjoy your interior design business, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Michelle Lynn. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am looking forward to today's conversation. Let me introduce to you Masha Koyen. She is a messaging strategist and website copywriter specifically for interior designers. So this should be really good. You might want to re-listen to it and take some notes, but here we go. Masha, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hi. Oh my God. It's so good to meet you. I'm so happy we're feeling that.
It's so fun, isn't it? We were just talking a second ago that we passed briefly a couple weeks ago at Luann Live. And it's just amazing how small of a world this little interior design community truly is.
It's amazing. You see people online. Yeah. And then you finally see him IRL. Pretty cool.
I know. It's so much fun. So much fun. So let's dive in because I love this topic. You know, the whole copywriting, strategic copy, the messaging. This is so important because I think that so many times we get stuck with the pretty pictures, right? So we go to the website and we're like, oh yeah, but I need to make it pretty. But let's dive in a little bit more about like making the connection with whomever's visiting that website. What does that mean and how do you kind of go about it?
Yeah. And you're right. There's a lot of focus on visuals, which is understandably, interior design is a very visual industry. But on your website, your visuals have to work in tandem with copy because you're not there. So here's the thing. When a person goes to your website, you're not there to make that connection because in real life, we're good. We can do that. We can, feed off each other reactions and, you can kind of sell yourself and you can understand what the person is talking about. But on your website, you're not there. So your website has to work double duty and your visuals alone can't do that. So the copy that complements your visuals does that thing for you, does that on your behalf. It creates that connection. It kind of humanizes the whole experience because if it doesn't, you're just looking at a typical website of another interior designer and you want to make it memorable. You want to make sure that the person, after they walk away, they remember who it was, what resonated, find something that resonated with them. So making an emotional connection is so critical on your website.
So what I hear you saying is just be yourself and let your own personality show up on the website in the words.
Yeah, you have to be authentic. That's one of the first things that I would recommend is just be authentic. Tell your story, tell it how it is. Don't just sound like someone else because I feel like in the interior design industry, it is hard to stand out because just like in copywriting, I think that we all kind of, you are an interior designer. You have a similar process to any other interior designer, but it's your story. It's you that can't be replicated. So you got to be authentic. You got to show up authentically.
And I love that you say that because that's one of the things that like when I finally freaking realized that I didn't need to be like all designery or somebody else that I thought I was supposed to be because I didn't feel like I was like really a designer. I was just kind of like me. And we all have that like weird insecurity, imposter syndrome or whatever. Girl, let me tell you, when I started being like myself and being weird and quirky and like all the things, life got so much easier professionally.
That's right, because it resonates. You're relatable.
Yeah. And I think that was so just like liberating. And I really hope that people don't have to wait until they're 40 something years old like I was to just let themselves be themselves because that's, I mean, the clients who are attracted to myself, to me and my team like we love working with them because they're fine with the weird and quirky.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like we're not totally weird and quirky. We're still professional and stuff.
But there's a natural fit.
Yeah. And it works. And it's just, I really hope that other individuals can just grasp onto that.
But to add to that, Michelle, I think this happens because you don't know what you don't know. When you're just starting out, or well, let's say you're just starting out and you're working with someone, or you're putting together your own website copy, you're putting together your very first kind of brand, what you think.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. You're kind of like, well, this person is doing that, so I should be kind of doing the same thing. And even in my client questionnaire, when I work with clients and they're like, hey, like make me sound like that. You know, here's like this website, I love what that designer is doing. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but can we do your own thing? Like, can we figure out what's your thing? What's your secret sauce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier.
Yeah.
So how do you, like you said, I understand how to do that when I'm in person, right? How do you do that? Like, what are a couple ways to establish that emotional connection on a website?
Yeah, I would say number one thing is storytelling. That's the biggest thing. You got to have some type of narrative there. And it can be on your about page, on your project, on your projects, on your gallery page, because if you're just having like a regular project description, that's one thing. But if you're actually embedding like a storytelling narrative there, you know, telling your audience what went into thinking, what was behind your design process, design thinking, what was the creative process, what was the initial challenge that your client had. It's so interesting to read because people will find something that they can relate to. And there's a study that was done, I can't remember when, and I can't remember who the cognitive psychologist was, but it said that people are more likely to remember things when they're wrapped in a story. I think it was like something like 22 or 25 times more memorable when it's wrapped in a story, when it's not just a fact.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just because it gives it some sort of surrounding
context. Yeah.
There you go. That's the word, context.
And it places you as the audience in the middle of action. It makes you kind of feel that you're there, you're experiencing it. And like you have to think about it from your audience's point of view. Like when they land on your website, they have to find something that they can resonate with, whether it's a similar project, a similar problem, a similar aspiration.
I read a book years ago. It's called Story Brand by Donald Miller.
That's right. I read it too, I think.
I love that. Yeah. But what I really took away from it and kind of worked into our presentation, like the sales presentation process, is that it's not about us.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You know, when we are talking to our clients, they really don't give a shit about us. They want to know how we can help them. Yeah. And so we have to make sure that they're the hero of the story. So when we're telling a story, making it about them instead of about us is easy to do in person. But I think making sure that you pay attention on your website is also not, at least for me, it wasn't natural. I thought it needed to be all about me because I was so insecure at the time.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, it's your website. It's natural to think, well, people are coming to my website to kind of learn about my business, about how I do things. It's very natural. Here's the trick though. You can still make it about your brand. You can still make it about your process, but like you said, make the audience the hero of that story. So what I typically do, for example, during these audits, like I do these website audits, website messaging audits for people. And when I do them, this is the number one thing that I pick up on. This is the number one. I'm not going to call it a mistake because it's almost like just, you know, an opportunity to improve. But it's all about them. It's like, you know, I do this and we do this and this is our process. Hey, it's still about you, but make it sound like it is about your audience. You know, how would they benefit? Put them in the middle of that story. Make it seem so they feel heard, seen, and understood. And honestly, sometimes it's like simple tweaks like using your or you, like starting those sentences. Check out your website copy. Literally look at all the sentences where you start with we and I. And it's like, think about how can you reframe it and make them the hero of that story.
I love that. And because I think people really prefer, and this is not like we're all selfish assholes or anything, but we all want to know how it benefits us.
Yeah, for sure. For
So
sure.
when somebody comes to our website, how does it benefit them? We need to reverse our focus.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to keep in mind that when people do visit your website, even if it's from a referral source, they do have questions in mind. They do have certain things that they want answered. So your website copy better answer those questions. So, they're there not to just get to know who Michelle is. They're there as like, okay, what's Michelle going to do to solve my problems or my aspirations? What is she going to do? How is she going to do that? Because there are certain questions that need to be answered, addressed.
I love that. What's your background, Masha? How did you get involved in this?
I was in marketing for the past 17 years. I was working for KPMG, Deloitte, all those big companies, and kind of doing those things, traditional and digital marketing, until 2019. That's when I launched my copywriting boutique agency for interior designers. And I just started thinking I wanted to launch my own business, and I started thinking, what could that be? And then I realized that writing has always been that common thread in all of my marketing jobs. And my last job was a marketing director. And I just realized when I walked away from that job, I was like, okay, the writing part of it was my favorite part, not so much like managing the team and all those things. I'm like, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign. And then, just working with interior designers was kind of like, unintentional, like what do you call it? Like a happy accident. I just happened to have one of those first interior design website projects and just immediately fell in love with that industry and started writing for interior designers.
And what's the difference between just like regular whiting? I sound like my daughter. My 5-year-old still cannot form her R's very well. What's the difference between regular writing and copywriting?
Yes. One of the biggest misconceptions is thinking that copywriting is like creative writing, but it's not. Copywriting is actually writing that sells, writing that converts. So regular writing is just regular writing, it's just wordsmithing, but copywriting makes your ideal audience act. It moves them to take an action. And that's what copywriting is. So there's a big difference between writing and copywriting, but they're used interchangeably by a lot of people.
Yeah, but I definitely recognize the difference because I'm a pretty good writer. I suck at copywriting.
Yeah, because there's like psychology involved. You have to move the person, stages of awareness are important there, because when they land on your website, you have to recognize, okay, are they solution aware? Are they problem aware? How do we move that person to take the next step? Like, from the headline to the subhead to all the way to the ideal call to action, which is to schedule a phone call.
Right. So a lesson, y'all that are listening, is don't try to do it yourself. There's truly an art to this. It's the same thing as like my mom decorating her room and hiring a professional to come in and decorate the room. Like there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
And if you could see my mom's like rose-colored walls, oh my God, let me just tell you.
I know some people, you know what though, some people are natural writers, it's cool, but you do have to know like the formulas, the science behind it.
It's definitely different. So let me ask you this. Why is what you do, and I think it's kind of obvious, but I still want to throw this out there. Why is what you do important to interior designers or entrepreneurs?
Here's the thing. I don't just do writing. I'm a copywriter, but writing is like the last stage in my process. I have a 6-stage process. I developed this signature framework called Reveal. And it's heavy research and client interviews. It's voice of customer data. It's like a copywriting term I'm throwing out there, but it is basically rooted in audience research. It's important because I don't just write, I actually talk to your clients. So as part of my research, I interview 5 of your clients and it's like informal chats. I just got off one actually right before we hopped on this call. And it was so interesting because you get to not only I get the most amazing customer testimonials from those chats, but I actually get the emotion behind. So what I'm trying to understand in those client interviews is, what was it like to work with this designer? What kind of, what was the most surprising thing? What kind of objections did you have before hiring an interior designer? What went into decision-making process? So I'm getting like everything. I'm learning about how they came to hiring an interior designer. What were they scared? What were they worried about? What kind of things were they thinking? And then I take all that knowledge, all those audience insights, and feed it into your website copy. And if I talk to your ideal clients, that means the copy that I produce will resonate with ideal clients. So it attracts more of those kind of clients.
That I think that's very well stated. And that's in comparison to the times that I've worked with copywriters, professional copywriters. There's a difference between what I believe is important to the client, or even what I extract from their testimonials compared to what you would extract from a conversation with them. And then being able to weave that in. And it's just like a design when you weave something into a room, a client's favorite color, a client's mementos from a meaningful vacation or something like that. It really does resonate well with whomever walks into that room, and in turn, whomever's reading that website.
Imagine trying to bake a cake without a recipe. You kind of know what the ingredients are, but you don't know how to put it all together. After lots of hard work and trying different combinations, all you are left with is a sticky situation and a stomachache. Babe, running an interior design business can feel exactly that same way. That is why I created the Interior Design Business Bakery. This is a program that teaches you how to bake your interior design business cake and eat it too. If you don't want to figure out the hard way and you want guidance to follow, a recipe that has already been vetted, someone that has already been there and done it and will help you do it too, then check out the year-long mentorship and coaching program, the Interior Design Business Bakery. If your interior design business revenue is below $300,000, or if you're struggling to make a profit and keep your sanity, this is the only program for you. You can find that information at designedforthecreativemind.com/business-bakery. Check it out. You won't regret it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And sometimes I think we're just way too close to our own business. We're way too close. We're in it every day. And sometimes we have no idea. So the things that I sometimes pick up on from these client interviews are the most amazing things. They're insight that you as a designer, you would think that, okay, well, they love working with me because of my stellar process. Whereas I talk to that client and the client tells me, oh, well, I really appreciated that. She knew all of my kids' birthdays and all those things, and she was so personable. So there's a bit of a disconnect. You think that you are liked and you're appreciated and trusted because of this one thing, but your clients treasure something else, something you didn't even know or pick up on, because what they give you is just a single customer testimonials. And if I can be completely honest with you, people suck at giving customer testimonials. You work with somebody for like a year or two on a project, and then you get this two-liner that communicates nothing. It says, yeah, it was an amazing experience. But then in these chats, I get, so much emotion and so many like feelings and all the juiciest details.
Yeah. Like the fact that designers are changing people's lives is so under-recognized.
Yeah.
So by taking that content and putting it in your copy, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier, like telling stories about the project per se. How much or how little of a personal story should go onto your website?
Do you mean about your client's story?
No, about the designer, about the principal. So like if I'm on my website and I'm telling you the story, okay, this was this project and this is what they overcame and blah, blah, blah. When it comes to like the about Michelle or the about Debbie or whatnot, like whomever is the principal and their team, how personal should you get? Like, do you want to know that I've got 2 dogs and a kid? Like, honestly, or do you want to know about my education?
I do want to know about your dogs and kids. I do, because we connect emotionally. It humanizes your brand. It's not just Michelle Lynn, it's Michelle. Like it's that person, and she's real, and there's so much in her life. But there's a time and place for everything. you have specific core pages on your website. You have your homepage, you have services, you have projects, you have your about page and contact. On your about page, do share those details, because it really helps your audience get to know who that person is, because that's, at the end of the day, you're not hiring your brand, you're hiring you. You're hiring that person behind your brand. It humanizes your brand. But on a project page, when you are describing your project, or what was the original challenge the client was facing and how you helped to overcome it, there I would make the audience the hero of that story. I would make it all about them, how you've helped them, so that others with a similar project or a similar challenge, when they go to that project page at home, okay, I can relate. We have something like that. So you're giving your audience something to relate to.
Perfect. So to kind of summarize, your entire website should basically be designed around the reader as the hero. However, when it comes to talking about yourself on your about page, it's okay to show your personality and to have a relatable story, or just make yourself a little bit more human on your about page.
100%. It's not just it's okay to do that. You absolutely have to do that, because like we said in the beginning, it's you that's going to stand out. Because here's the thing about interior design industry. It's very hard to stand out, because like I said in the beginning, you have a process that's maybe similar to other people's processes, but it's you and your story and your journey and your path to becoming a designer is so interesting and so memorable. And like, for example, I think everybody should go to your website and check out your about page, because it's amazing. And your story is just like, as I was reading it, and I found yours. Yeah, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, you would think that it's long, but it's like, it's taking you on this journey and making you kind of part of that story. Is like, oh my God, she went through so much, and this is how she arrived at this business. I loved it. And I think people are always looking for that point of connection. And your about page is a perfect example of how to do that, of how to
thank you.
Yeah, I loved it.
Are you talking about my ML Interiors group?
No, I'm talking about your
Creative Mind.
design.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
I think that one is definitely more representative than my ML Interiors group. I might need to have you audit my ML Interiors group.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about
it. Okay, so one of the things that I know inherently, and I think that you can probably put better words to it than me, but people buy based on emotion and not necessarily logic.
100%. And there's like so many studies that are done about it, that we're just driven by emotions. Sometimes when we're, signing up to courses or masterminds or things, you make that connection. You find something in copy that resonates, or maybe you connected emotionally with the host or the instructor or whoever, and you just make the commitment based on that, based on what you feel. And not like your logic can be completely way off, and it's like, okay, it's not the right time to commit. It's not the right time for this investment, but something tells me that this is the right time, and you just press the trigger.
Girl, I bought a car about 6 months ago. Same reason. I was like, I didn't need it. My payments went up. It was not logical, but oh my God, I just love driving it.
No, for sure. I believe it wholeheartedly that this is how we make at least that's how I make all of my decisions. And I can attest to other clients. And when I talk to clients, because I have imagine if I have 5 interviews per each client, I've talked to a lot of homeowners that have hired an interior designer, and that's what I hear. And when I ask them to well, what was it exactly that made you work with like Trisha or whoever? It's like, I don't know, I just loved it. Like, we met and it was love at first sight, and I was like, and here I am looking for something logical, for something. Well, tell me exactly what it was so we can put it in the website copy, because I know it's gonna work. And oftentimes it's like, I don't know, just like we vibed and there was a connection, there was chemistry.
I wonder if we could put that. There was just a vibe.
It was. That's true. That's how it works,
Yeah, it makes sense though. So like, for those of you who are listening, like, think about that. When was the last time that you made a purchase that really wasn't that logical, but you knew it was the right decision? So I'm still not 100% convinced on my car, though. You really love driving it.
You love it. That's all that matters.
It's not even all that of a car, but I really, it made me happy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when do you think about your business, Masha? So like from as a small business owner or entrepreneur to entrepreneur, as you're speaking to to the audience, when do you strategize for your business? Do you do it daily? Do you do it weekly, monthly, quarterly? Like, what does that look like for you?
I keep thinking about that Instagram story that I recently posted. I put two alarms on my clock. One for the person I am today, one for the person that I want to be. And I'm like, ideally, I would do it, I think, weekly. In reality, I don't think I do it weekly. I think my decisions are always guided by my strategy, by the strategic goals that I have for my business. 100%, I do it annually when I do my CEO. I do this CEO retreat. So it's like 2 days for my business. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I only started doing that a couple of years ago. So I sit down for 2 days. Sometimes like it's in a remote location. Last year I did it at a cottage. So I literally sat down for 2 days and created just a bunch of goals. And then the trick was to just narrow it the hell down, like from a laundry list of 1,000 things that I could have been doing, I narrowed it down to 2 or 3 things. And this is how I focus my year on those 2-3 strategic goals. And then I do have like a Friday CEO day. I don't always utilize it because, emergencies, life and things like that. PA days for schools, for kids and everything. But ideally, you would do it every single week. I would say that I try to question everything that I do every day, whether, can I outsource it? Am I moving the needle on the key project? So I do ask those questions daily. But I wish I was a lot more strategic where I had like, this is the day for strategic decisions and, brainstorming.
Me too.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I just go by instinct, which isn't always the best thing, but
I mean, that goes back to our emotional things. We do go by instinct. I think it's fine to go by instinct. I feel like I built my business based on that.
I don't question the validity of it, but I do wish that I had the discipline or I'm not quite wired for the strategic, intentional, like you said, weekly aspect of it. So some of these questions that I ask are from a selfish standpoint. I try to pick other people's brains and say, okay.
Yeah, I love it. And
what can I learn from Masha?
No, I love it. I love it. And that's the thing. I think we need to have more of these conversations, and that's why we're part of communities and masterminds where we are learning. And that's my favorite part about joining these things, because you get to talk to people and to see, well, how are they running their business? What can I learn there? What can I borrowed so many things from different people. I feel like my process is like this compilation of different people's processes. I don't even know if it's my own thing anymore, because there's so many smart people out there. They do these amazing things. I'm like, okay, I'm going to borrow that. I'm going to make it my thing.
It's like a good recipe.
That's right. Hence the bakery.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I was thinking chili because it's cold right now, but so like when you make a cake, it's like you might want to throw in some chocolate chips, or you might want to throw in some peanut butter chips or something different, or sprinkles. So it's just enough to make it your own. You get the foundation, and then you sprinkle things in.
I love that. You get the foundation, but then you sprinkle your own thing. You inject your own personality, your own secret sauce into it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm literally, so we're recording this, for those of you who are listening, it's the day before Thanksgiving, and we have people coming up, and I was like asking my husband, okay, well, what do we want to make on Friday? Because we eat so much on Thursday. Like, what does this look like? And I don't feel like being in the kitchen the whole time. So we're going to make a chili.
Amazing.
And so I'm just thinking about some of the different ingredients, because I don't follow recipes well.
No, I love that. I'm not that good like that. I need to follow a recipe.
Take the foundation and then I finish it in. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that's funny. So Masha, what would you like to do? What would you like to spend more time doing? If you had all the time, all the money, all the network connections that you needed, what would you like to spend more time doing?
That's such a great question. I feel like I would want to spend more time, well, one, with family, and two, doing something that I love. Not because I necessarily have to, but just doing things that I love. For example, I do furniture restoration. I would love to have more time to do that. That would be
Oh,
nice.
that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as my personal things, I would love to spend more time doing those things. But as far as my business, I would love to have more time just strategizing and having like a few hours during every week to say, okay, what can I do if money or time was no object? What can I, how can I dream a little bit bigger? So I wish I could do that. And I feel like we should be able to do that because we got to make time. It's not just going to appear. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I think we all could probably dream a little bit bigger.
I mean,
we put such limitations on ourselves.
For sure. It's just more exciting to be a little bit more ambitious. And sometimes, like, ask me 3 years ago if I'll be speaking on a podcast. I'm like, hell no. It's like, here I am
You
today.
should have asked me if I would have had a podcast. It was also hell no.
That's right. So we surprise ourselves, and we evolve, and thank God we evolve.
Yes. Amen to that. Otherwise we'd be dead.
That's right.
Okay. So a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Is there a book that you've enjoyed reading this past year that you would recommend?
Yes. I loved Midnight Library. It was such a good book. It was just about, I'm not going to reveal what it's all about, but it's like imagine that every decision that you make in life can create this whole other life. And the book actually illustrates, like, here are a few scenarios of how your life could have gone. It was just amazing. I loved it.
That sounds great. I love those types of books.
Yeah.
There's one called, oh my gosh, Dark Matter, something. And it was about like
fiction?
parallel life. Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's kind of like the sliding door thing.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just take a different step. All right. Okay. Is there a piece of wisdom that you would like to leave the audience with?
Considering everything that we talked about, don't be afraid to do your own thing on a website and with your messaging. It's cool to be inspired by other people, but don't be afraid to be yourself. There's no like hard rules for here's what it should look like. Here's how your about page should be structured. Here's what's going to be like. There will always be people who will say, well, this is the best practice, but don't be afraid to kind of show up authentically, talk about your story, even if it's unorthodox, because sometimes you never know, but people relate to the weirdest things, and you will attract your tribe. So definitely show up authentically.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. And I know that our audience has loved everything that you've shared. So where can they connect with you, Masha, and learn more, potentially learn how to work with you, like all the things?
I am on Instagram. I show up daily. I share all kinds of strategies and tips for messaging and marketing for interior designers. You can find me there, masha.copywriter. Definitely connect with me there. Let's be friends.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah. Masha.copywriter.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, clarity. Oh, we're clever.
Yes, be easy to find would be another thing to learn. So that's Masha, MASHA.copywriter. So I'll make sure those details are all listed in the show notes for our audience to reference. And y'all, if you want to drill down into some more strategic planning, head on over to my website, designedforthecreativemind.com, scroll all the way to the bottom of that first page and download your review and planning guide. Like, if you want clarity, like right now, this guide will take you a good hour to fill out. Like, it's juicy. You're going to be saying, Michelle, you should be charging for this, but cruise on over there, download it, and take the time to fill it out. I think you'll really find it is helpful. And I think I'm going to do the same thing as we come into the end of the year. It's time for me to sit down and really drill down into it. But no matter when you're listening to this, do that anyway. So choose to be great today, y'all. Choose to be great today and every day. Thank you, Masha, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Hey, y'all. If you love the show and find it useful, I would really appreciate it if you would share with your friends and followers.
And if you like what you're hearing, want to put a face with a name, and get even more business advice, then join me in my Facebook group, the Interior Designers Business Launchpad. Yeah, I know, it's Facebook. But just come on in for the training and then leave without scrolling your feed. It's fun, I promise you'll enjoy it. And finally, I hear it's good for business to get ratings on your podcasts. So please drop yours on whatever platform you use to listen to this. We're all about community over competition. So let's work on elevating our industry one designer at a time. See you next time.